So a huge welcome to everyone. I'm super excited to bring to you this interview today, or this chat with an amazing man who is very unobtrusive, and he just would mingle very easily into a crowd. He's very humble, but don't let appearances fool you, because this man has got incredible, or this soul has got incredible knowledge to bring to us and wisdom at the moment on the planet. He is able to bring through information about things like Buddhism, Taoism, our connection with the East, and information about the beginnings of humanity up to the present day, everything. But it's a perspective that is unique and very helpful information to unify all the knowledge of everything that we already know. And so today, I'm very, very excited to bring to you Denson. Denson has written a book, and it's actually a channeled from Michael. He channeled it from Archangel Michael, but Archangel Michael doesn't want to be called Archangel Michael. He wants to be called Michael in this instance. So he's channeled with the help of Michael, and the information in this book is riveting. We have copies of it available on my website. If you go to medina.com, MEDYHNE, and go to the opt-in page, you can actually get a copy of this book. You just opt in with your email address, and a link will come up, and you can go to the bottom, and it's $12 Australian. Denson's kept it very reasonable for everyone to be able to purchase a copy, and this will explain in depth everything that he's talking about in this chat today. The book, A Journey Out of Hell, is a gift to the people of the New Earth for giving healing in just the right way to Mother Earth the whole time they were in hell. And this book is nothing like anything else I've ever read. I majored in English literature at university, and so I'm very conversant with so many books. I've even been an author and written books myself that are on my website. But this book is unique, and it has information you won't get anywhere else, including some incredible dreams that Denson was told to bring through and write them all down. So before I introduce Denson, I'd like to share with you just a little excerpt from what he's written. Denson found himself in a room seated next to his father, with his mother sitting opposite him. And as they talked, his mother became very vocal toward him, which he finally said for her to stop. He then decided to go high into the mountain, where he once saw a lake in a dream and found peace. Later on that day, Denson re-entered that dream, and during his meditation, he flew at great speed to every point on the earth, in the air, in the fire, in the water, and in the dark clouds which parted to reveal a bright blue sky, and finally into the underworld through the catacombs of Egypt. As he traveled to the end of this dark tunnel den, Denson came to the face of the custodians of the gateway to the heart. The dark hooded custodian, with only his chin exposed, sat behind a block of stone. Denson now claimed the earth back as humanity's birthright. He had been shown the 7 healing chakras of earth, air, fire, water, sky, and the underworld and the heart. This is truly something I encourage everyone to get a copy of this and read it. It is amazing. And the more people that we can get that out to in the world, it's going to expand our consciousness. So one more thing I'd like to say before I bring Denson in is these interviews are all, there's a lot of work that goes into them, a lot of research, a lot of preparation. And if you'd like to support everything I do, please hit the thanks button below. And also, if you could consider joining my Patreon community, where all these videos, you support everything that I'm doing for the collective. So on that note, I'd like to welcome in our guest, Denson. And welcome, Denson. It's wonderful to have you here with all your beautiful paintings and photos around you. I can see them around you there. It's great to have you here. And I know you haven't really done this sort of chat before, but and also it's going to be very interesting because there's so much information to condense. So I hope I can do this chat justice with you, with everything that you have to share. So perhaps just start by telling us your Earth incarnation in this lifetime. What have you done this Earth incarnation from the, the 3D perspective, Denson?
Well, thank you, Medina, for that introduction. That's quite extraordinary.
It's true.
But anyway, I'd like to start with a quote from Menkes, a ancient Chinese sage, that said, "The truth uttered before its time is always dangerous." Well, now is that time for the truth to be revealed. The beginning of my journey started when I was a teenager, which led me to a book, the Tibetan Book of the Dead, which you could not get in those days. I had to send to Bombay for it, then Bombay. And from that book, I studied many esoteric books on Buddhism, Taoism, yoga, the whole monty of plethora of information, which led me finally to a book called The Secret of the Golden Flower. And The Secret of the Golden Flower is about the returning of your consciousness through the yang principle within yourself back to heaven. And from that book, I pursued my own journey through dreams, clairvoyant, other clairvoyance, and so forth, to finally arrive at the book, A Journey Out of Hell.
Can I ask you, Denson, what were the 3D type jobs that you did in this lifetime? Because I think it's interesting for people to know that, if they just met you, you're just someone who mingles into society in the usual way. You had you were a tennis coach, you were was an electrical engineer, those sorts of things. Tell us just basically, so people can get an understanding that you're not someone who is far removed from the planet, even though you have all this knowledge. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. No, I started the journey with, in the physical sense, with sport in particular. I was very good at sport. I excelled at athletics, and I became Australian junior champion in decathlete, also the pentathlon. And that was at age 19, and I started work at the same time. Well, I couldn't do both, so I chose the latter to advance my career, which was electronics, which I didn't really adhere to electronics because it was very logical, but nonetheless that was my vocation, and that was my journey through the workforce. I had many jobs, of course, but in amongst all of that, the esoteric side of myself, the spiritual side, always shone through. It sort of wouldn't leave me alone. It was sort of like pursuing me all the way, which sort of made my whole life a duality of spiritualism and workforce. So it was a hard road, spiritually speaking, because I really desired to be like the proverbial monk, so to speak, which is not possible in these times. No. Because you have family, you've got to build a house, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. So you have to go to work. And but I was always meditating, always looking for the dreams, even though I didn't understand what they were about in the very beginning. But as it went on, I sort of became aware of what the dreams meant. They're cryptic, of course. They're not laid out in some sort of point, bulletin type message, you have to decipher it, which leads into another inner knowing about yourself. So yeah, it's quite a journey.
So those dreams that are in the book, they're all listed in the book and described, are fascinating. And we could, touch on this again later on. But in the meantime, let's go into sort of a bit more about the books. It starts with, this work is dedicated to the people of Tibet and the Dalai Lama, the embodiment of compassion. And you say at the beginning that the fight over free will is what this whole creation has been about. The war in the cosmos is and has been over free will. Then you talk about, it is through compassion that the healing in just the right way is done. Humanity and Mother Earth have endured eons of pain and torture as it traveled through what we call hell. The pages that follow are the story of the sun's journey through the underworld. And then you talk about the journey of the son of man. And so just tell us a little bit about that side of things, which is the journey of humanity starting from the beginning. As I said, it's really hard to condense this into just, a few words, but just describe the beginnings of what you've discovered through your downloads and your all the information given to you about where humanity began.
Okay. First of all, when I was writing the book or doing the download from Michael, each individual would come in and take me on a journey to a certain place within the universe. Michael, first of all, took me to where we first met, as he put it. This is where we first met. So he asked me to meditate, and I did. And the next thing I knew, I was standing or viewing this particular point in time where everything was translucent. The translucent colors of the first energies that come into the blackness, which I had previously seen in a dream, but only in more detail.
So let me just recap. You're saying that it began as a void.
Yes.
Everything began as a emptiness, a black space, a void.
Yep.
Yep.
In the blackness, in the blackness, there is absolutely nothing. There is no stars, no anything. And then in that void, there are the energies of the building blocks, the primordial energies of life. And when it sort of like explodes into the translucent dimensions of time, where Michael showed me, that's where we had first met. Then he took me on the same journey to the other side of the cycle, where we would be when time permits, where we will be in heaven. So the whole journey is from the void to the moment of inception into heaven, which I assume would be all of humanity.
Right.
That was Michael's the journey in that regard as to where we first met. Then the Heruka took me on a journey. Now the Heruka is a energy that guards the wheel of time right from the very beginning, when there's nothing, even before the void. So the Heruka said to me, meditate, and I'll take you to where we first met. Now the Heruka is an aspect of God. It is, and it had to be the aspect of God, because man was in this wheel of time. Man's journey was to go through the underworld into hell, because that's what the experiment was all about, which comes down to the free will. So the Heruka took me and said, meditate, and I will take you to where we first met. Well, there was nothing. absolutely, it was a little bit daunting because I couldn't even aware of anything. It was like, well, just nothing. So I came back out of the meditation and he said to me, what did you see? And I said, absolutely nothing. And he said, that was the void before anything appeared. So, so I had the experience of knowing in full well where everything came from, everything that has, you know, derived itself from translucence to this density that we experience at this time, to in the future when all humanity who haven't given away their free will, and I got to stress that because it was all about the free will. That was the secret. The secret was the free will that the dark energy wanted. They could never have it because it was a gift from God. Free will is the gift. I've got to repeat that because I don't know if people understand about free will. It's not saying, oh, you can't tell me what to do as far as going into the park or whatever. That's just a fractal of free will. Free will is about your own divinity, your essence. And by giving away that free will, you have denied your own access to God.
So an example of that would be somebody who has chosen to be part of the VAX narrative. That would be part of giving away your free will?
Oh, absolutely. Because there is, you can be tricked into giving it away. But if you haven't got the contact with your own divinity through your heart chakra, which is a gift to every human being, it's in the DNA. If you have, through fear or whatever motivated you to take that should I say jab, then you have given away your free will. Now it's not for me to say or judge on anybody about that, because it'll come down to the spirit world, in as much as like why you did it, blah blah blah, and all the excuses and everything else. It's all taken into account.
So what you're saying is that each person will be evaluated based on their own soul energy and their own merit, in terms of how they are supported in their evolution.
Yes. Now, those people, governments, companies, Pfizer, so forth, Moderna, AstraZeneca, all of them, they're another story because they are going to, well, I can't really say what they're going to face, but they won't be, they're in a lot of trouble, put it that way.
Right. So is this to do with the Haruka? Because the Haruka is quite a ferocious type.
Yes, because
so describe the energy of the Haruka to people listening, because the fact that you are in the presence of this being was extremely intimidating for you because of the energy of this being. Do we have a painting of the Haruka there? I think you do. Is it the Medusa? The image?
Well, that is the Medusa is the female aspect now of the all energy has changed. It's transmuted. So the divine energy, the female divine energy, is now with the Medusa. Whereas before it was with the male divine energy of the Haruka. Does that make sense to you? Am I making sense?
Yes. Was there an image of the Haruka?
It's in the book.
So Denson's going to show us now an image of the Haruka in his incredible gallery there. So that's the Haruka image right there. Fantastic.
See that?
Yes, it's got skulls in its head.
Yeah, well, that's he wears the crown of skulls,
Yeah.
and his skin is peeled back, so he's showing bone. It's quite intimidating, I can tell you.
Yes, yes.
When I first met him, oh, my heart was just thumping out of my chest.
Yeah.
I can't explain it, honestly.
Wow, wow. So you must have pretty profound soul standing to be able to come in front of such a being and then do that. So there was a situation there with the Heruka, wasn't there, where you were supporting humanity in some way. Is that correct?
Yes, yes, yes. I thought that I was the cause of this whole mess. I really did. I thought I was panicking, pacing up and down the floor, and I had to make a decision about which way to go. Michael asked me to make a decision, and the decision in my mind was either I gave an answer that freed things, or I protected myself from the Heruka. And it took me 2 days to make that decision. Anyway, I went with, blow it. I'm not concerned about myself. I'm more concerned about humanity and what needs to happen with humanity. And that was a real biting moment.
Very brave of you.
Oh, whoa. I can't describe how terrified I was.
But you
Because
made
I
that
thought
choice.
I was going to be,
Sorry.
I thought my soul, like if you face the Heruka and it's a real thing. It's not, I'm not too sure what happens to the energy, but he's the other side of God. He's an infinite energy.
It's to do with justice too, isn't it? This energy.
Yes, and it keeps what that energy does. It keeps those that have committed heinous crimes against humanity. He will keep them in the places that warrants their consciousness.
Sure.
Consciousness goes to whatever it finds rest in. So you can imagine, well, I mean, you cannot imagine the horrors of some places, but that's where you'll end up.
Sure, if you've done the wrong thing. Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
it's not we came through hell because we gave away at some point in the Atlantean times, we gave away our free will and we descended into this density of frequency, and we had to endure. What humanity did was they opened a portal to the dark energy. And in the dark energy, there is all sorts of nefarious, evil things. Now, don't get me wrong, you can't judge that because that's the way it is. You can't sit there and, if you're a divine being and you have the divine essence within your system, in your DNA, you cannot. Everything has a place. Everything has a time. Everything has to be. So
sure.
Those things have to be. So the cycle continues on, and as humanity rises to the path towards heaven through all the stages of existence, the cycle, those that Oh, see, I'm getting into those that in this dimension have committed
Crimes against
heinous
humanity.
crime.
Yeah.
They've got to go around again.
Yes.
They're not. They missed their chance.
But you're saying that the thing of judging people, there's no point to it really, because it's
No.
all part of the collective whole, and it's through knowing all aspects of that we can actually raise our consciousness.
Yes, that's correct. We need to look past all of this emotional, judgmental. Even though you might think that you're a Christian or a good Buddhist, or anybody can be subdued or coerced by their mental state. Anybody.
Yeah.
And it just depends what degree that you are willing to descend into that consciousness.
Absolutely. And now with the whole COVID thing, that has made a point of people making clear choices about where they're going and what they're doing. It's sort of, so tell us about how that has impacted humanity, this whole last few years of the COVID, because I don't want to say the word in case the censors get me, but how has this impacted this whole, because you're saying that it actually was a very important part of the evolution of humanity.
Oh, yes, it definitely was, because humanity had given away its free will. Not all humanity, by the way, just there were certain factions, the hierarchy, just like they're doing now. This is a repeat of what had happened all those eons ago, that caused humanity to descend into the density that we are in.
And you're talking about specifically Atlantis.
Yes, Atlanta and
tell people
Lemuria.
the parallel of what happened in Atlantis as compared to what's happening now.
Yes,
so how are the two
that's
the same?
correct. Yep.
Tell us about that. What happened in Atlantis that is the same as what's happening?
Well, Atlantis was, from my understanding, was very technically driven. It had all the technology, whatever that be. And Lemuria, the land of Mu, M-U, they were more spiritual. They had all the answers through crystals and so forth like that. That was the difference. They were the two major civilizations, and from Lemuria, the Mayans and all of that civilization, the Chinese, the ancient Chinese, not today's Chinese, but the ancient Chinese had their influence from Lemuria.
Yeah.
And which is two sides of the coin, because on Atlanta and Egypt are in the West, and of course then you got your Christianity and all that sort of path coming from Egypt. But Egypt is far older than what they're saying, archaeologists. But way back in antiquity, there was a time that the priests of Atlanta decided that they would, all-powerful priests, would take charge of the whole world, and they developed means of control, whatever that be, through the DNA, which is exactly what's happening now.
Yes, the altering of the DNA through the
yes,
JAB.
The same thing. And humanity should have learned from that time before. It should have been still in their psyche. It should have been. They should have known.
Yes, I'm sorry about that beeping in the background. We'll just ignore that. Hopefully it'll go away. Oh, there we go. It's gone now. Yes, humanity should have known that this was being repeated. Absolutely.
Yes.
And see, the thing too is that the dark have obscured our true history from us, so that we can't learn from it in order not to make those mistakes again.
No, but in the essence of the human, through the DNA and their psychic, it never changed. All the history is there.
Yes, we have the universal wisdom within us, and we
So
just have to
when
tap into it within us in order to be able to access it.
yes, that's right. Now, persons wouldn't know where that was coming from. Like, I'm just not going to. I'm not going to do what these people want me to do. I'm not going to do it. That should have been. Where is that coming from? That is coming from within themselves and their own history.
Yes, yes.
And
so that when they tap into that at a cellular level, they would know the importance of not just going along with things and complying, but being in charge of their own destiny and being true to themselves.
Exactly. But a lot of people were ruled by the little word called fear. And fear is the great, well, the thoughts, the images that it creates, that they purposely created images to excite the fear within people. And it worked.
Yes, absolutely.
But now that was the test. The test was how are you connected to the divine principle of yourself, as opposed to what the AI, one of a better word, is talking about.
So you're saying too that at the core of the darkness is basically or the shadow aspect is AI. Is that what you're saying as well?
Well, yeah, it still has a it's still part of the same system. It's just the other side of the coin. Sure. It depends which way you as an individual want to go. You either leave the path of the divine organic self and follow the what to do and where to go and all this sort of thing, because you have no confidence in your own strength.
Yes, absolutely. And do you foresee that and we're going to talk later on about the significance of the sun, but do you foresee that the planet is going in two directions now? Please tell me about that.
Well, there is parallel Earths, but what the parallel Earth is about, let's say if your desires are to win a lot of money, blah, 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 or whatever the desire be, big yacht, all these sorts of things, you will appear, that idea will appear manifested on another Earth parallel to this one. So this is the actual center of the timeline, and off this center is other worlds, which are created by people's thought, created by their energy within themselves. They create the world that they now exist on. So, but if you practice impartiality, you look at all your desires, all your manifestations of what you see in the world, you bring all those worlds back to this center point. So you no longer exist outside of this here. Now you're free of those encumbrances of other worlds. They hold you in this kind of like a time loop. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, it does, absolutely. So there's multiple parallel timeline potentials, is what you're saying.
Yes, and I actually had a dream about that. I saw this center, this ball of light, and in the light were these consciousness dots, which represented us. And from those that ball, there were filaments, thousands of filaments with dots of consciousness on those filaments of time, of the timeline. So Mother Earth, it's all about Mother Earth.
Yes, that's a key thing to share with people. That's why we're here. So share with us, why is it key that about Mother Earth? Why is that the key?
Because Mother Earth in this in the bhagwan, if I can use that, the polarity of the solar system, Mother Earth is the jewel. She is the one that there is a central sun of Mother Earth that is part of the sun itself.
Right.
And Mother Earth, it is going forward, it's ascending with or without humanity.
Yes, yes.
So if humanity chose to stay in hell, so to speak, then that's where you chose to be.
And Mother Earth would still ascend.
Yeah,
regardless.
and those did not give away their sovereignty, but stood like a lion facing an enemy, which is what it was all about. That
That's
courage
right.
to face that enemy. And so some people, you know, in certain jobs were threatened with their existence. That is a crime against humanity. So those organizations, those governments that implemented that, they are going to be, well, they're already being judged,
Yes,
if for want of a better word.
yes.
So they will either face the Heruka, which will take them to whatever place their consciousness belongs to.
Yes. Which
So
won't
that,
be pretty.
in that place, it's a kind of like another Earth.
Yeah.
It's kind of created in their mind. Like, let's say, for example, the flat Earth thinking people. The flat Earth thinking people think only in 2D. Otherwise, they wouldn't think of Earth as flat. They've got a 2D mind.
Mhm.
So, you know, the Earth is really a vortex. It's a vortex of a pyramid within a pyramid,
Sure.
a Merkaba.
Sure. Nikola Tesla talked about it being a realm. A
Yes.
realm. Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Oh,
Sorry?
there's been a lot of great thinkers through the ages, and there had to be, you know, like Lao Tzu in China, Fu Xi, and all the great thinkers in the West, to, you know, Yeshua, all of these people that brought the light in amongst the darkness. That had to happen, and each one of us may have incarnated with light at certain parts of the traveling through the underworld that sparked that light within those people or that consciousness at that time. And the great example of that is when, you know, the dark ages fell upon the earth, you know, and people were persecuted for, you know, for uttering the slightest thing against the then establishment. They were, you know, burned, tortured, or whatever. But there had to be people incarnated at that time that brought the light, so the change would happen.
Yes, yes. When you talk about the bhagwan, could you explain that, because people might not understand that concept?
Okay, the bhagwan, the bhagwan, the before bhagwan was the one that Michael took me to, where we first met. That's the very beginning of the primordial energies of existence.
Right.
That was and it was at a certain polarity where heaven was at the top, and the sun was at the bottom, and there was the eight primal energies of the bhagwan. Then at some stage, maybe around Atlantis time, or, I don't know exactly when, but I would hazard to guess that it was around there, because man's consciousness altered. It descended because he created it. So what happened? The bhagwan, the polarity of the bhagwan shifted to the after bhagwan, where heaven was no longer at the top.
Mm-hmm.
It moved around. So we were off balance. The whole establishment, the whole energies of the solar system became unbalanced. Now we are at a stage where, when I went out with Michael on these journeys to capture or expel the energies from the planets and put back the original consciousness of the planet, which I call people. I interpret it as people, but it's the energy of the planet. It's such as, Neptune or Mars, Mercury, all the rest of it. When we went out there, I went with him in meditation, of course, but we took out the main, or he took out. I don't know why I was chosen to be with him, but I was. I don't know. It was all a big surprise to me. But he went to Saturn, and he had to trick that's where the main Baal energy existed, in Saturn, which controlled Mother Earth through the rings of Saturn.
Yeah.
It was like, and the moon, of course, as I later learned. But Saturn was the main cause of our
downfall. Our downfall.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to record a part 2 of this interview because there's just so much to cover. We can't do it in one chat. So we're going to record another part 2 in a minute. Before we go, Denson, I'd love to share with people just one lot of your incredible paintings that you have shared with me. So I thought maybe what we'll do is I'll bring them up on the screen, and you can describe for people a little bit about these paintings. So I'm just going to bring them up now. And here we have a stunning picture of the twin suns.
Yes, that image came to me. I'm not sure exactly when, but it's the old sun. The one on the left is the new sun, and the one on the right is the old sun, which was looking from the Andes Mountains across the Pacific towards Uluru.
Right.
That's what that sun, the mask there, which was called the sun. It's a Mayan sundial, and it is significant in that time. But now, that's when the two suns were separated. But now those two suns, are now one.
Yes, and that's why the sun is so incredibly bright.
Yes, that's why it is so
they've
white.
Combined together. Okay,
yeah.
sure.
Now, I'll just add to that a little bit there, Medina.
Sure.
At the present time, they're seeing through photography a second sun behind this existing sun, but it is the old Earth. It's the old Earth where people of that thinking are still there.
So
that still exists. But the new sun, which we see, is it's the sun of the new bhagwan.
Yes. Now I'm just going to show people some of these images there, and we're going to describe them in more depth later. There's Medusa there. There's the
That's the
dragon.
new. That's the new. That's Kali. That is Hindi for Kali. That writing underneath. But the Medusa head. There's a story to that which I was listening to, which involved the Catholic Church. Now they did a ceremony many moons ago where they severed the head of Medusa and kept it because it was the divine. It was a symbol of the divine feminine energy. So it was suppressed energetically under the Vatican.
Right.
But now with everything back into balance, Medusa has combined with Kali. They're one of the same, and that's the description of what I was given.
Fantastic.
The snake, the blue skin, the red eyes.
Right.
And
That-
of course,
yeah.
that is connected to the reptilian.
Right. Right. Gee,
But
there's
not all reptilian is what you think. No, it's only some.
right.
Not
Right.
all. So this is where it becomes a little bit
Complicated. Well, we won't describe any more information on these, but I'm just going to show people the extent of your incredible work, and there's way more than this, and we're going to come back to them in our next talk. There's also another one here as well that I'm going to share with people, just to show people, the things that we're going to continue to be discussing in a further chats. It's probably going to be even more than one additional chat. I'm sure we'll have many more, Denson, but here's some more of your incredible artwork. And then, it would be great to go through each of these and just give a bit more in-depth information. This is a really important one here, Michael, who stands against the dark, because he is the Michael who helped channel this incredible book, which I'm going to show for people in a minute, that you can get a copy of at my website by just logging into the opt-in button. So that's Michael there. He's not traditionally presented in that sense with the wings or anything like that.
no. That's how he wanted to be presented. Exactly how that is.
Perfect.
And
Amazing.
of course, that's Moses there.
Yes.
Whoa, he's something.
Well, we'll come back to him. We're going to go through each of these and talk about them. There's just so much incredible information and knowledge that you have to share there, Denson. And these artworks are wonderful. And there's more as well, but these are just some of them. So we're going to stop there for today. I'll just show you. This is the book here, A Journey Out of Hell, but we won't get a physical copy. When you go to the opt-in page on my website to get your copy, it will be a PDF. And also with that will be a beautiful free gift that you've offered, Denson, which is a video of images, artwork and images and photos of Tibet and beyond, the area, around that area. And it's to the music of a soundtrack that your son put together, which is really beautiful. And that's an additional gift that will come with the book, which is a bit like you could watch it and put yourself into a beautiful meditation, looking at all these incredible images. It really does also resonate as being in alignment with reading the book, looking at the video and then reading the book, because all the images take you to that energy as well. So thank you, Denson, for this chat today. And we're going to come back with part 2 very shortly. So big thank you, Denson. Thank you.
Thank you, Medina.